Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with feelings. And today we're going to talk about the feelings of feeling sick and tired. I wonder if you've ever had that, or you know somebody who may be feeling like that at the moment. And so, what I'm hoping is that by listening to today's broadcast, you'll be able to not only find some really good ideas for yourself, but also for those that you care about. I saw a quote and it said, "She's strong, but she's exhausted." And I certainly know that feeling. And maybe you do too, all right? Which is sometimes you just are tired, and it's okay to be tired. And I think for those of you who don't know, Dear Mama Sal is a group of people who get together 3 times a week, not just myself. And what we do is we hold each other's hands, as we go through life. Now, must admit, basically for 10 years, I was holding everybody else's hand. And then about 6 months ago, well, 5 months ago now, I ended up with cancer and needing a mastectomy. And since then, the viewers have been holding my hand as I go through that process. And it's been, quite honestly, a wonderful process. I think somebody once said that you really find out who your friends are when you go through something like this. And it is amazing, quite honestly. So, are you sick and tired? There's the thing. Before we get on to that subject, I just wanted to say if you are a regular viewer, either in the live broadcast or on the replays, um, you don't necessarily have to be in the chat, but if you are a regular viewer and you have a birthday this week, please let me know, because as far as I can see, nobody has one. Hi, Jeannie. Jeannie is one of our most loved regular viewers, and it's great to see you, and I hope you're doing well. So, and as I said, I don't know of any birthdays in this part of April, so if it's this week or next week, please let me know. So let's talk about being sick and tired. Huh. One of our viewers is about to go through a really scary operation. Um, Quite honestly, hi Jody. For those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin and does a great job. Um, so this viewer of ours is about to have a double eye operation in which she could lose the sight in one or both eyes. Can you imagine how scary that would be for you in if you're living in North America with all the top surgeons and everything else available? But she's living in a third world country, and she's living on a very small island. And it's like, think about that. How scary would this be? And can you imagine trying to live your life without sight? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But I have to admit that she is doing what she can to cope, but I know that she's terrified. And who wouldn't be? So it's okay to feel that way. However, the terror is about looking forward, all right? It's going, I am, and that's anxiety, all right? That it could happen that she loses sight in both eyes. But it could happen that she keeps the sight in one eye. And if miracles happen, she could end up with sight in two. We can pray for that. So, can you understand that somewhere in her brain she's saying it's not fair? I've had to put up with so much already. And she thinks it's not fair. And I understand that the diagnosis was not made earlier, when it would have helped the one eye before it got too bad. I totally get that. And she hates taking the medicines that she has to take at the moment. I totally get that. And then, of course, she's worried, sick, about how she will cope when if she ends up blind. You guys know me pretty well. The one thing that I did was I tried to think to myself, who do I know, if anybody in my sphere, that is blind? I don't know anybody that's blind. I know people that are paralyzed. I know people that are deaf, including myself, you know, but I don't know anybody that's blind. So I can't really relate to that possibility. And she's been semi blind for a long time, as we know, because she's been on the broadcasts and talked to us about that. But what I did, and I would encourage you one day, if you have the time to do the same, is to look up all the famous people who are blind. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that, Jody, can you make sure that I pass the link on to our viewer? Because what amazed me was, you know, just how many very famous people are blind. Obviously, we know a lot of musicians and people in music that are blind. Um, but you know, it was like, and some of you will know of Helen Keller, who was an author, um, who was blind and survived incredible stuff during the war. But you know, it was, to me, it was amazing how many different facets of life some very famous people fall into that category, and that gave me hope. Right, which is there is life after this if you choose it. And it's a case of how do you choose to deal with whatever it is that is ailing you. And so I sort of looked at it and went, okay, fine. Um, these things are easy for us to talk about, maybe. But then I thought, you know, we've got so many incredible examples, haven't we? We have choices. We know that. Um, and this one I think you can all relate to. Our choices are we can have a pity party. Anybody ever done that? I have. You can accept it, or you can do something either with it or about it. And if you are able to do all three, I believe you have what we call balance. You will be authentic and you will be looking after yourself. You see, I don't know anybody that's struggling with any sort of issues, be they health issues or loss issues or whatever, that is really good the whole time. There's no such, yeah, I don't think there is such a thing. I certainly am not a happy little camper all the time. There are days when I wake up and I just don't want to do anything. I just don't have the energy for it or whatever. But you know, I've learned, thanks to the support I've had from people in, you know, Dear Mama Sal, I have learned that that's okay, and I can just do the best I can that day. The Dalai Lama said, if you feel burnout setting in, if you feel demoralized and exhausted, it is best, for the sake of everyone, to withdraw and restore yourself. Yeah, Jeannie is saying, in terms of being sick and tired, she says her left shoulder is getting better due to physiotherapy. It's slow work, but it's getting better. Yeah, you know something, Jeannie, you know, I find that I'm quite surprised that I can work quite well with those, you know, 2 pound weights now while I'm doing Billy the Bike with my legs. But we'll talk about that. But then the next person I want to talk about is Jody. And, you know, it's funny because some of you will have noticed that over the last 6 months, I have alluded to, but not discussed, that Jody was not doing too well. And it actually started back in sort of 3/4 of the way through October, where Jody got diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver. And she is at stage 3. Now, some of you probably think you automatically, your mind goes to cirrhosis. That means she's a drinker. No, that doesn't. That means a number of different factors can cause cirrhosis. I'll get that right in a minute. One of which is what they call fatty liver. And fatty liver comes from being overweight, which we know Jody was because of the lymphedema, and having diabetes, which we know Jody has. And so she is actually at stage 3 because liver failure is considered to be stage 4. And obviously, she was absolutely dumbfounded when she heard about that. And I asked her, I said, you know, when you got that diagnosis, how did you feel? And she said to me, I nearly passed out. I had an intense hot flash. My vision was blurry, and I felt like there was ice water in my veins. Any of you who've had a very difficult diagnosis will know that feeling. And then I said to her, well, tell me something, Jody. How long did you dwell on it? Because we know that with all things, part of the process of healing our minds, of our mental health, is to actually be able to get away from that initial shock. Now, the initial shock is quite normal, right? It's part of the loss cycle. We know that. You go into denial, and then you go into anger, and then you go into sadness. And she was saying, it overtook my thoughts for a few weeks. And then I decided I was going to make the most of what time I have. How sad to potentially die twice, if that makes sense. She said, first death being the theft of the joy of my daily life by letting the diagnosis rule me. No way. There are some things I do have to control over, and that was one of them. And what she said was that she actually decided to do everything she could to help herself. And I thought that was incredible. And she said mentally, she started to focus on finding joy in every single day. Laughter, she says, is imperative. And I've talked to you about that because I know it's part of her day. She also said that finding that helping others is a wonderful way to get my mind off my medical issues. Yeah, and Jeannie's saying here, Jody is so brave. She helps everybody else and makes light of her own problems. Well, that is a mentality, though, isn't it, Jeannie? And you look what you've been through in the last 2 years, and you haven't sat here and griped a whole lot that I can remember. You've sort of dealt with it as best you can and been honest about it. You've had bad days, and we understand that totally. Yeah. So then she said she also found it important to give herself permission to have a day off. And there are days that I cry and feel sorry for myself. But I don't unpack there. In other words, she doesn't stay there. All right. She just knows she's going through a wave. And that wave is a little bit of self pity. And you are allowed to do that, as she has told me time and time again. But she took up a really serious hobby of diet, right? She really, diabetes started her on a quite a serious diet understanding. And now, because of the liver issue, she needed to change her diet again. In fact, it was a choice. Jody's saying yesterday, I'm sorry to laugh, Jody, but trust you. She's saying yesterday was a crying day. But it had been quite a while since I'd had one. Yeah. So in terms of her diet, here's what she decided to do. She focused on eating fresh vegetables and fruits and protein. She limited the amount of soda and other drinks that contain artificial sugars and added dyes. She decreased fatty, sugar-laden foods and salt. But she said, please note, decreased, not eliminated. You've still got to live. I intend to continue with these changes. They're helping with the weight loss, and I feel better physically. So that was her new hobby. Her new hobby was, what can I do about it? So now we're 6 months later. And this week she went to see her doctor. And by the way, I obviously have permission to discuss all this with you. Um, because yesterday she went to see her doctor. And the reason that we were both so excited is because we had already seen the results from her recent labs that she had done. And one of the things that was fascinating was that her liver enzymes were showing normal. Now, that was just like they had gone from being seriously compromised to being normal. However, we thought we should wait until she'd seen the doctor to make sure there hadn't been an error somewhere. And so she went to see the doctor this week, and the doctor said, and I quote, "At this rate, there are so many other things that could kill you before your liver does." Now, it doesn't mean that she hasn't still got the problem, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. But I'm going to repeat the next bit, not because I choose to, well, actually, I do choose to, I guess, in a way, because I'm about to do it. But it was a particularly important for Jody that I repeat this, and I quote, "I would love for the Dear Mama Sal peeps to know how much a piece of this puzzle you are in my life. Okay? Your friendship, support, advice, and our laughter is priceless. It always touches my heart. How, no matter how busy you are and what you're dealing with every day, you take the time to make me laugh and feel special." Well, that's because you are, Jody. "There are a few days that we're both so busy that we can just say a quick hello, sending a hug, and thinking of you. But the thought is always there. You are my guardian angel in life, and I know I'm not the only one." But Jody, I think everybody would agree that if anybody deserves a guardian angel, it would be you. And I know we all do, by the way. But I do want to read you Jody's disclaimer because it's important that you understand this. She said, "But I must make a disclaimer that even though the lab results were spectacular, it doesn't mean that my diagnosis has changed. I still have advanced liver disease, and that is incurable. The reason to celebrate now? 110%. It was the weight loss that prompted it, along with the dietary changes. And we know one created the other. You know, we get weight loss by watching what we put through our mouth, not necessarily through exercise. We make our bodies stronger by exercise, but the weight thing comes from what we're putting in our mouth. Both those factors combined, along with the blessings from above, is what got me here. I want you all to think about how seriously Jody must have taken this change in diet to get the results she did in 6 months. All right? So instead of spending 6 months feeling sorry for herself or being afraid, and I'm sure she has felt sorry for herself, and I'm sure she has been afraid. But what she did was she balanced that time by doing everything she could possibly find out to improve her liver. I saw a quote and it said, "You often feel tired not because you've done too much, because you've done too little of what sparks a light in you." I love that quote. Yeah, and Jean is saying, "And dear Lionel helped Jody by bringing home a little canary that they've named Peep." Yeah. And so there is no doubt in my mind that the Jody I met nearly 10 years ago is a very different person from the one that I know today. Because I know that she doesn't need me to, she doesn't need my sympathy. Let's put it that way. Right? I don't waste time feeling sorry for her. All right. Because I know that she is aware of what's going on and she is dealing with it. And when I say I don't waste time on sympathy, it's a given. The same as with our other viewer, it's a given that my heart bleeds for her, that she may lose sight, but she may not. And as Jody heard from her doctor, there is a very strong possibility with what she's doing, and if she continues to do it, that she will die from something other than liver problems. However, she also found out this week there's a possibility that she may need a couple of operations. So I am certain that her fear starts all over again about, am I strong enough to be able to take these operations or whatever? But we'll do that one step at a time. Jody's saying, "Yep, I can feel sorry for myself just fine. Thank you." I treasure your truth and your laughter. Yeah. The reason I know that, Jody, is because I know I don't want people feeling sorry for me. I want people to support me in a way that makes me stronger. And I think what really brought about the topic for me this week was I was talking to somebody and I said, I've had a difficult week, strength wise and all sorts of things. And I said to somebody this stunning statement, which was, I feel like I'm existing, not living. And I'm sure that Jody knows that feeling. And I'm sure that a couple of other people who are viewers know that feeling. And then I saw this quote, which was, I'm tired of being tired and talking about how tired I am. So then I thought about, the statements I'd heard from that viewer, and I thought, is it fair? And at the same time as dealing with this, I'm dealing with issues in my life that are stressful, and I'm dealing with other things. Is it fair? Of course it isn't fair. It is what it is. Life wasn't it Bill Gates that said that at a commencement one time? Life isn't fair. Huh. And the sooner you understand that, the happier you will be. And you see, I'm also struggling with being very tired from taking a new medication. Is that fair? No. But it is what it is. And that's the end of that pity party. The question is, can I accept it? And I would say yes and no. Do you understand that? Yes, I can accept that the reason why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling is because of the medication I'm taking, more than likely. But will I accept it in terms of I'm going to curl up and stay miserable? No. So what I did, as I often do, and you've heard me talk about this, I went to go and see what Louise Hay had to say about feeling sick and tired. And the number one affirmation that Louise Hay had for somebody who feels like that was, I love and accept myself exactly as I am. And that brought about a whole change. And before I go through that, let me just see what Jeannie had to say. Jeannie's saying, on Wednesday, I made sandwiches for the internal med staff, and on Thursday, I made sandwiches for animal hospital staff. Everybody was thrilled. I was happy to do it. It gave me a big boost. Yes. One thing I always say to people, Jeannie, is I'm not that noble. People say, oh, you're such a good person. I go, no, I'm not that noble. I do things because I know I will feel better. I mean, I don't do it just for that reason, but I do not believe that I do it just for their benefit. I enjoy the look on I'm sure you enjoy the look on their faces when you walk in. Actually, I've done that once, Jeannie, and people refused it because of their fear of what I might have put in the sandwiches, because we got strange people around these days. And Jody is saying, Jeannie, that's wonderful. You are so thoughtful and generous. Exactly. So what I did, and I want you to take this journey with me because I think it's really important. And that is, as Louise Hay said, right, that I need to be, let me just quote it properly. Hold on a second. Let me go back one. I need to love myself and accept myself exactly as I am. She didn't say accept the illness. She said accept myself exactly as I am. And therein lies the difference. All right? And then I said, okay, who am I? Not when I'm sick. Who am I? And I wonder if you can answer that question. And then you'll forgive what may sound like egotistical statements here, but it's really important that I understood and remember who I am. And when I did that, I really could feel the change. Because number one, like Jeannie, I'm a kind person. And it's okay to be kind to myself. That will give me balance. So do you understand that? Which is, it's okay for me to give to others. I've done it all my life, but it's also okay to give to myself and be kind to myself. And as Jody so rightly said, that may be a day of crying to get rid of all that emotion and not keep it inside and end up, mentally strung out. It's okay to have some days where it's okay to have a day where you just decide, okay, I'm going to binge watch today. But I found out there are ways that I can do that are healthier. I can sit on my Billy the bike and do exercises while I binge watch, and that's a good idea. The number two thing I said, I know I'm creative. And then my heart sank a little. Because when I thought about it, I haven't been in Confetti Corner. You have not heard me talk about Confetti Corner for over a month. And what happened was, at the same time as this fatigue was going on, I had this issue going on in my community here, which is, that required me to do some things that really I'm not quite strong enough to do. But what I decided was, I can do it if I have the right mentality. And was it fair? No. But what I did was I said, okay, every day I'm going to go out and do the best I can. And I will call it my exercise time. And I literally have dug about a 30-foot trench, about a foot deep. And now I'm filling it. So it was incredible to be able to do that. I don't mind telling you, and you can probably imagine that some days I didn't feel strong enough to do it. So what I did was I sat on the ground and I literally used a trowel. That's an oversized spoon. I literally sat and used a trowel just so I knew I had done what I could. I couldn't stand up and dig because I just didn't have that strength in me the one day. But I went, okay, what can you do? And I did that. And I felt good about doing that. So do you understand that that took some creativity? But then I thought about it a bit later and I thought, I think I'm being tough on myself. Would you say that all my experiments on microgreens and um, growing this many seedlings from half a grape tomato, actually 2 halves, and by the way, I've taken quite a few of the seedlings out already. Is that creative? And I think it is. Jody's saying you're not a person that dwells on excuses. You create options, and that's inspiring. Well, I know I know what depression feels like, and I know how I got there in years past, and I don't ever want to go there again. And so, what gets me out of that vortex is, what can I do? It's too overwhelming to do it all, but what one thing could I do today? And I think a lot of I have this saying that I say to myself: if they paid you $1 million to do this, if you could do it, how would you do it without help? I also would like to think that I'm fairly smart. And so when I looked at the trench issue, I realized I would have to start immediately and I would need to do it every day to get it accomplished in the time frame, which is a week Wednesday. No, this Wednesday. This Wednesday, not a week Wednesday. Um, so that's what I've been doing. Come on, scroll. Come on. My program is not scrolling for me. Don't you hate that? So hang on, I just want to get out of the program and launch it again. Maybe that will help it. It's a bit like me. Um, but can you understand that being fair isn't what it's about? Okay. And can you understand that I need to really be aware of who I am in order to get things done? So I am also aware. Who am I? I am somebody who's aware. I'm pretty aware about things, right? And so I was also aware that it was possible that it was going to rain all week. And guess what? It has. Could I use that as an excuse? No, it's not going to help me. Yeah, I can assure you they're not going to be interested that it rained all week. They just want it done. So I've been out there and I needed to change my thinking about rain. I don't know too many people that have had a major problem with rain. You might catch cold if you're not dressed adequately. You might get wet if you're not dressed adequately, and you might get cold. It's just like, think about it, right? Really, there's not a whole lot that's very dangerous about rain. It does make digging a trench heavier because the soil is heavier, but it's okay. Slows you down. So I checked, one of the first things I checked was how many good days have I got? And the answer was none. None. It's going to rain every day. So I needed to get over that. And now I went, okay, fine. Now I need to go in depth. It's the first time I've ever looked at a weather forecast and said, by the hour, what's going to be happening? And I even got Alexa to let me know how much time I had before it started to rain. And that's what I find really fascinating, that I can ask her, yeah, what time is it going to start raining today? And what I do is I go, okay, you could just need to work until it starts to rain enough that you can, be uncomfortable with it. And that's what I've done. And like Jody, I love to learn. And by the way, our other viewer as well that I'm talking about, she also is a great learner. All right. So what I did was I talked to the pharmacist at the cancer clinic and said, because I needed to give them fair warning that I was opening up my last packet of pills because they send them to me. And there's part of me that didn't want to repeat it. I don't mind telling you, but I do know that I have a better chance of survival without cancer by taking this pill. So it's sort of like a love-hate relationship. It's a wonder pill, but I don't like what it does to me. But get over it, right? But I love the fact that it will hopefully, lower my chance of getting cancer back again. That sort of cancer. I know in my heart of hearts, when I'm not feeling sorry for myself, that I'm a courageous person. I have courage. And therefore, I didn't let a little rain get in my way. Does that make sense? Um, the same way as I know Jody is incredibly courageous. And anybody that's going through that. Yeah, and thank you, Jeannie. Jeannie's saying it is creative to work with plants. Yes, so you understand, I wasn't being fair to myself when I said I didn't do anything creative. By the way, does constructing a new laundry hamper, um, is that considered to be creative? And what about a new under sink type unit? Because I also constructed one of those. And the more I thought about it, I thought, you have been creative. It's just not in confetti corner. So thank you. So I'm pretty courageous. And also, if you've known me for any time at all, you know that I am pretty much an achiever. I like achieving things. So I knew in my heart of hearts, even if I had to end up on the last day working with spotlights in the dark to finish everything, I would, because that's who I am. I'm not, as Jody said, I'm not somebody who gives excuses too often. I might ask for compassion, but not excuses. And so I'm pretty sure that the task will be done. And I am also somebody who is not afraid to ask for help too often. It's not my strong point, but I can do it. And as you know, I unexpectedly had a viewer from my past, or in fact, a real life a friend from my past come into the broadcast last week. And she's going to come and help me tomorrow. But I also am smart enough to know that life could get in the way. So I'm not hanging all my task on the fact that I'm going to have help tomorrow. Because a number of things can happen. Number one, life could get in her way and she can't come. And then number two, it could pour with rain as it did last Saturday when Yvonne and Wade came to help me do that task. All right. So I know that I cannot rely on that. It's just like it'll be wonderful if it happens because it'll give me a couple of days to just tidy up and do things. So does that make sense? That's being realistic, all right? I know I'm a realist. I know that help is coming, but it may not happen. That's being balanced. So I still need to keep doing that program that says if I keep doing it at this rate, I should be finished by Wednesday. So some of you might even say that I'm not a quitter. And to me, that is a very important thing, part of me, all right? I can allow myself to do my best, but I also need the balance, as Jody will tell me time and time again, to know when to quit. Not quit on the job, but give myself a time to. I was going to say give myself a break. I don't want a break. I might break something. No, what I want is time to rest. And so be careful of the words you use, people. If I keep saying what I need is a break, I could break a bone. And that's not what I want. So what I need is time, just a little bit of time to rest. And if I feel I have done my fair share, then you understand I don't have to feel badly about the day because I know I did, my exercise for the day and that was going out there. And just so you know, I have made a point of checking how many steps I'm doing. Like Jody, all right, my body is not going to feel stronger and have more energy if I don't feed it properly and if I don't, make it stronger. So to me, this is really important, that I do those things. And I believe so far I've averaged about 6,000 steps a day. And one day I only did 2,500. That was my pity party day. There are moments you just need to let it all out and scream. Because if you don't, the bottled up emotions will start eating you from within. So I want to make sure that listener knows that it's understandable. All right. And it's okay to have that day. But just don't stay there. As Jody so beautifully said, don't unpack and stay there. Move on from there. All right. And I saw this and it said, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm drained. I'm feeling blurred. Everything's smudged. The world isn't real. Lie to me. Tell me that you love me. You see, I don't think that's a lie. But what I'm saying, it is incredible. And then I saw a quote that really made me burst out laughing. And it said, I finally got 8 hours sleep. Oh boy, do I relate to that. And it said, it took me 4 days, but whatever. You see, this is another thing that's been going on this week. For some reason, I had real problems. I was waking up every 2 hours during the night, and that meant I wasn't getting any quality of sleep at all. And so when I spoke to the pharmacist, that was one of the things that I discussed with her, and she gave me some ideas, including it would be an idea to take my medication in the morning rather than the evening, so that the symptoms of it, the instant sort of reaction to it, could affect me during the day, not during the night. So I said, okay, I'm prepared to try that. Well, it has changed. Now I'm waking up every hour. Go figure. And I'm still doing, I'm taking Tylenol for pain at night, so we know it's not that. And I'm taking tart cherry gummies, and I'm doing melatonin, and you name it, I'm doing it. But guess what? For some reason, last night I literally woke up almost without fail every hour. And I like this quote. It said, I'm exhausted from trying to be stronger than I feel. And, it's just like, so, I literally, it started to amuse me. And I've got a new alarm clock that has a projection on it, and it projects the time onto my ceiling. So when I wake up in the night, I don't actually have to turn over to see the alarm clock. I can just open my eyes and see what time it is by looking up at the ceiling. It's just like, are you serious? I slept for an hour. So when the pharmacist made these suggestions, I I did them because she said, it may just give me more rest and therefore more energy. She also said I should take more B complex. And that was interesting because um, I'm thinking, but I'm already taking B complex in my multivitamin. Um, should I be taking even more than that? That's something I still need to get an idea of. But anyway, are there ways of getting more vitamin B into my body without necessarily taking more pills? And so basically, I'm pretty sure that, some of you know this, and Jody for sure does, but I've been really aware of eating more iron type foods, all right? Things like and red meat. I don't eat a lot of red meat, but she did say make sure you eat red meat at least 2 or 3 times a week. So it wasn't stay away from red meat, it was make sure you eat some red meat. And last night I had some steak, but it was that big. So yes, I don't want enough to give me problems, but I want enough to put iron in my thing. And then I'm going, we know that green leafy vegetables, contain iron. So she said like spinach. I said I don't like spinach, but I do like leeks, and I do like this, and I do like that, and that's why I eat them. How many of you know that I'm probably getting a fair amount of of iron out of micronutrients as well? And there are so many things, eggs give me protein, proteins give me strength, and eggs have iron as well. So there are lots of ways, we don't have to just rely on pills. I can supplement my iron intake, if you like, by making sure that I eat the right things. And that would be accountability, all right? Am I waiting for the world to change, or am I changing? Doing what I can to change. And I think that is a really important reality, all right, which is what am I doing? So then I looked at it, and I know that one thing I am is funny on a good day. um, so I decided this week, for a change, I would totally indulge my inner child. And when I did my shopping, what I saw, and my inner child went, yum, was dessert croissants stuffed with strawberries and cream and drizzled with chocolate. And I went, I don't give a. And I ordered them on my takeaway, I have my groceries delivered. And when I opened, they didn't stay in the house very long because as soon as I opened the box, I went, okay, I'm just going to have one today and I'll have one tomorrow. Because I've learned something about sugar intake because I manage my diabetes by a fairly good diet. Not good, but fairly good. And I've managed it for 6 years without needing to take the pills. And one thing I've learned, if you're going to have a carb day, enjoy it. You know what I mean? That's the day to have baked potato, and that's also the day to, do all sorts of weird things. I mean, really enjoy it. And then it's done, and then you can go back to being sensible. And, what I did was I finished the first, and then I had some cheese because Jody always said if you eat something sweet, balance it with protein. So then I had some cheese, and then I had a boiled egg, and then I sat there and I went, the other one is calling me. And I went and had it. And I laughed. And I realized that that was being naughty. But I also realized that part of this is all about feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally tired. And sometimes you've just got to live, as Jody so rightly says. Sometimes you go, I've been pretty good, not very good, but pretty good. But, today I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to celebrate. I haven't been out to dinner. I haven't done anything like that. So today is going to be my celebration day, and I'm having both of them. Because for some reason, and Jody will be able to tell me the science on this one, but for some reason I have found that if I take a lot of sweet on one day and then drink a lot of water and compensate with more protein and so forth, it balances out fairly quickly. Now, have I taken my blood sugar? No, but I intend to tomorrow just to see if my body has processed it or not. Quite funny. And so, do you understand that when I look at who I am, being funny is who I am, and doing something that makes me laugh is really important to keep my energy up? So, can you see that it's really important to think about who am I as a human? And it's not about who am I now, it's who am I? At the core, who am I? At my core, I'm not a sick person. At my core, I am a well person doing the best I can with what life has given me. And Jody is doing the same thing, all right? She's not living the life of being as sick as she is. And remember that this liver thing is not her only challenge, all right? She has diabetes. She is, struggling with a lot of other things as well, as you understand. But what she does is does the best she can every day. Great inspiration. So I'm not hoping for a huge amount of energy. What I'm hoping for is just enough energy to do enough that I feel that I've accomplished something. I'm not hoping and, realistically thinking I'm going to be able to do what I could do a year ago. That would be unfair. It wouldn't be fair to expect that. But can I keep doing a little bit better each day? Can I keep, trying to get a little bit stronger? I think I'm almost at the stage when I can start increasing the weights on my dumbbells, but I'm not 100% sure because it's still difficult for me to get that weight up to this level and then higher. I can do it. And I know it's good for me to do it, right? And if you haven't done it, wherever you're sitting right now, just try it without any weight. I don't want to hit this, so I'm going to start here. But just try going out, keeping your shoulders back, go out and go all the way up and touch like this. And can you feel how many muscles you use? And if you don't want to do anything else, try that, because it stretches your whole core. And quite honestly, I can now do that with 2 pound weights in each hand. So that's with 4 pound weight total. And the other thing is, can I do it like this and hold them? And I'm working at extending that. And then what I will do is I will hold them like this, and then I will put them on top of the back of my couch, which is a little bit higher than my shoulder level. And boy, can I feel it along here when I do that. So it is not about running or doing whatever. It's, am I doing everything I can in my own way to increase my muscle strength? Now, I did even start, I didn't do it this week, but last week I did actually get on the floor and start trying wall yoga, as I think I told you about that. And I want to tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy getting on the floor at my age. And it's not easy getting back off the floor at my age either. Um, I want to say that that's really the battle I'm fighting is with myself. And every day I keep saying, uh, can I do this? If you paid me $1 million, can I do this? Can I do a little bit more? Yes. And that's why I'm saying it's quite interesting that I'm now considering, increasing the weights on my dumbbells. But can you imagine? I kept that vision in my mind when I was digging the trench. This is helping me build the upper body strength. Because if you imagine what that feels like, when you put a shovel in, and by the way, I use my smallest shovel, not a big one, spade, whatever you call it here. It's this like, there are a lot of muscles that you use and a lot of core strength. So I keep thinking this is doing me a lot of good. And can you understand why Louise's Hay quote, and I want to go back to it, just let me get there. I love and accept myself exactly as I am. So do you understand there are two different levels of that? Number one is I love all my qualities. And I have to sort of let go of my fear of being egotistical. And I need to make sure that I remember my qualities. Jody, I am certain that you need to do the same thing. All right? That you know that you are this, that, and the other. The fact that your hands don't work properly, you still need to be creative. All right? And it's just like you just need a different way of doing it. And I know that part of your creativity is cooking, even though chopping up things is difficult for you, but I know Lionel helps you. So part of your creativity, of course, is, planning the meal and then doing it together. This quote says, and all of a sudden, I feel really tired. Like the world had drained me from everything I had. I know that feeling. So is there another reason, perhaps, why I have this lethargy? Is there another reason? Is it chronic fatigue? I don't know. But what I do know, as Jody is saying right now, it's all about finding options and not giving up. Yes, you see, Jody, that is I really want you as well, and maybe our viewer who's going through what she is going through, to write a list of who you really are. You're a survivor. You are, so strong in so many different ways. And that the most important exercise that we can do when we're battling illness is to keep our mental health, right? Not only our physical, but, I believe that quite honestly, it is our mental health that we have to work really hard on maintaining. And so you look at it and go, how quickly can I recover from the pity party? And if the answer is pretty darn quickly, then we're okay. You will remember that my part of my learning last week was to find out what is the difference between my heart rate going right up under stress and my heart rate going right up under exercise. And quite honestly, part of it is the recovery time. We know that the stress one is a different enzyme, hormone that gets released. But to me, it's like, how quickly can I go from here to back down here again? And if your heart can drop down pretty quickly, you're pretty healthy. What I noticed on the day that I got really angry was I spent all day staying on the higher register. Luckily, the information from my watch tells me all of that, and I know that isn't. Luckily, I don't do that very often. And so, what I beg you to do is to be really aware that you are not your illness. I think I've seen that somewhere else. If you can try and separate the two. I am pretty certain that in Jodie's world, just talking to and welcoming Peep, her little canary, into her life, has given her a lot of reason to smile. I was interested to see how her little dog, um, Taily, reacted to the intruder, because we know, you know, Taily's been the baby of the family for 6 years now. How old is Taily now? It's a little white fluff ball Eskimo thing, and it's been the number one, getting all the attention for all those years, and suddenly something comes in and is taking away attention. Yeah, he'll be 6 next month. That's what I thought. Yeah, but and Jody, I said to Jody, how's Taily doing on day one? And she said, he's barking at it. And I said, yep, that's understandable. He's making sure that the intruder knows who's boss in here. This is called, I don't know who you are, but this is my house. So step in line. And then after a while, he got tired of barking at Peep and he shut up. And now probably Peep is the happy little thing because it chirps away. And, who knows? How do you how do you like this quote, for anybody who can laugh at it? It says, laziness is nothing more than the habit of resting before you get tired. And I don't know why. I thought, yeah, that's so true, isn't it? I need to rest before I get tired. And it says here that it's mentally exhausting feeling bad about something you can do nothing about. So absolute waste of energy. Being angry about the illness, as Jody and I both know, is waste of energy. Being, you're allowed not to take the medications. And when I say you're allowed to not to take them, but not to like them is what I mean. But you still need to take them if you want any chance of survival. I know from the questions that my sister is asking me that she's basically saying to me, is it worth what it's doing to your body to take the pills that you're taking? And then, you go, well, from my mentor, she's telling me a story about a friend of hers who stopped taking it because she got fed up with the symptoms that go with it. And, she got cancer back again. And now it's inoperable. So it's like, and then she said, well, does it guarantee you won't get cancer at all? I said, no, not at all. There are no guarantees when it comes to cancer. It just statistically halves the chance of it coming back. And Luckily, I caught mine very early, so the chances are pretty good. But the thing is this, you don't know what escaped into the rest of your body. And so therefore, I choose, my body, my choice, I choose to take the pill, even though it causes me problems. But I could hear that her thing, is it worth it? And I'm going, I don't want to find out the other way. Because imagine, I guess that's the truth. I asked myself, what would you say to yourself if you stopped taking it and you got cancer back? How about this quote? It says, I am tired of feeling worthless. I'm tired of feeling hopeless. And above all, I'm tired of feeling tired. So my question is, if that is true for you, what are you going to do about it? Right? Because I will not accept it as a way of life. I will accept it as Jody has, as a time to go, okay, what do I need to change? How do I change my eating? How do I change my exercise routine? How do I change my sleep pattern? Now, what I do know is normally on a Sunday night is my best night's sleep. Why? Because I know I don't have a broadcast and I don't have anything else. It's my, if you like, Monday is my Sunday. All right. I go to bed on Sunday night knowing that that's my day off and I can sleep as long as I need to. And sometimes on a Sunday, even when it gets to time when I would normally get up, I just turn over and go back to sleep again. And I don't worry about it if that's what I need. And so to me, it's about being as kind to me as I possibly can. But on the other hand, knowing that I am the answer to feeling better. And I will need to keep finding ways to feel better. And I'm due to talk to my doctor for refill on my prescriptions this week. And one of the conversations I will have next week, rather, one of the conversations I will have is, does he have any other suggestions? Maybe I need a sleeping pill at night. And I did say to my pharmacist, I'm going to end up rattling as I walk for the number of pills I'm taking. And the other discussion I want to have, because I don't quite get it yet, is if I'm taking a multivitamin, do I still need to be taking these extra things? Do you know what I'm saying? Because my multivitamin has, one of the things the pharmacist said, take extra magnesium. Can't remember what that was for. Jody will know what that's for. But, it was just like, yeah, I'm doing that. I take an extra pill for my magnesium. But the thing is, how much do you keep topping it up? How about this quote? I love this one. It said, sleep doesn't help if it's your soul that is tired. So you understand, if you have given up on yourself, if you are depressed, then you end up, almost nothing helps because that's the space you're in. Oh, yes, that's right. Thank you, Jody. Yeah, that was one of my other things. I have severe restless leg syndrome. Thanks, Jody. And magnesium helps the muscles from cramping like that. And one day last week, I mean, my legs were doing this all the time, and it was just after an hour I went, I'm exhausted from running without even being standing up. But it is what it is. So ask yourself, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with who you are, not who you wish you were? Because if you're living in Disneyland, as I call it, going, well, it's not fair because I used to be able to do, yeah, that was then. Yeah, Jody's saying that's so disruptive to sleep. I've had restless legs too. Yeah, I've had it for a long time. So there's part of me that goes, maybe I just need a sleeping pill, that knocks me out. And somebody said, and all of a sudden, I just felt really tired. And we've talked about that before, right? It's difficult to describe if you've never had it. It's like one minute you think you're fine, and the next minute, so tired. Morgan Freeman said, the best way to guarantee a loss is to quit. Think about that. The best way to guarantee weight loss is to quit the amount of food. One of the things that I realized is not that I'm eating the wrong food. It's just I notice that my portion control is out of whack. I'm starting to eat more of the right things, but it's more than my body really needs. So that's something I'm going to really focus on this week, is cutting it back slowly again. And so if the best way to guarantee a loss of weight is to, you know, is to quit the amount of food you put in your body. But what about if the guarantee a loss of mentality is to quit knowing who you are and keep doing the things that make you who you are? If I don't keep achieving things, if I don't keep being amused by things, if I don't keep experimenting, you understand that is part of who I am. It's my soul. And so, therefore, it is so important that I carry on doing that. So important. And, getting angry about stuff is not going to make it any better. So I love that quote from Morgan Freeman, right? The best way to guarantee loss is to quit. I don't quit. I have a day off from achieving every now and then, but I don't quit. I am patient. That's another one of my things. I am an extremely patient person sometimes. I don't quit on things. A great quote, because I love the quote because it goes both ways. It reminds you that you need to quit. And then it also reminds you the reason you're not doing what you wanted to do is because you quit on it. This quote made me laugh. And some of you will relate to this as well. It says, I feel like I'm already tired tomorrow. And I went, yeah, I just know that feeling. I just got a notification from my grocery store that they're stopping delivering groceries in plastic bags and paper bags. They're stopping all bagging. So in future, when they deliver my groceries, they will be loose, which means that I have to be ready with bags to put things in to get them into my house, because they bring them in a box. So either I need to have a box to bring them in. That's a good idea, Sal. Yeah. A box for the lighter stuff maybe, and a couple of bags for the heavier things. But it is interesting to me because when there have been a couple of times, if you've gone grocery shopping and you've forgotten your bags in the car. I've done that a number of times. What I've learned is you don't need to get the bags. What you need to do is just load everything back into the cart, take the cart to the car, and then bag the groceries into the car. That's quite a good system. So I've got a big note that I need to get my bags out of the car, or at least half of them out, ready for when the groceries now arrive, and not with bags. But then I'm thinking, oh, that's a pain, because then I'm going to have to buy bags, for my under the sink and garbage and stuff like that. I don't know why I haven't had to do that for years. It's going to be more expensive again. Well, it is what it is. Was said that you're not lazy, unmotivated, or stuck. After years of living your life in survival mode, you are exhausted. There is a difference. And I would say for those of us struggling with illnesses, all right, it is okay to be exhausted. And I always say to Jody when she's having a tough day, I know what to tell her. Just do whatever you tell me to do. Why? Jody is so compassionate to me, not to herself, but to me. So I just, when she's having a bad day, I just say, okay, fine, just do whatever you tell me to do if I were telling you this. Quite simple. But I love this quote. And it was said by Will Smith's wife. She said, when I'm tired, I rest. And I say, I can't be Superwoman today. And there've been a few days where I literally have said that. Yeah, I think being Superwoman today is out of my realm. But I can be useful, just not Superwoman. And I was amazed at the joy I felt. And I've got to say that, when I got those 2 parcels that required construction, I felt great joy. I like building things, as you know. And as usual, I didn't read the instructions properly. And as usual, I put the one thing together and then found out I'd got it upside down, in as much as the drawer thing that came out was meant to be at the bottom. And I had it at the top, and I went, it was only after I had it all constructed and put it in place, and I went, how do I get to the stuff in the bottom? And I thought that should be where oh, right. Let me have a look at the instructions again. And so then I took it apart, and thank goodness I could. And then putting it together the second time was really easy because I already knew how to build it. It's just like, duh. And then I looked at it and I went, it's meant to go in a under the sink vanity thing. It's meant to go there. So why don't you put it there? I'm going, well, I have this stuff next to my toilet. Why? Well, because the stuff under my vanity is full. I mean, there's not room in there. I went, so you got too much in there, you mean? So my goal is, not this week because I got other things that are priority, but one of my goals will be to actually take that unit and get it under my sink, my vanity, and to clear out half the stuff that's in my vanity and put it in the laundry room, or else, I've probably got half bottles of everything. Do any of you relate to them? I'm really good about having half bottles of things. Oh, what did I find this week? Oh, do any of you use scrubbing bubbles in your shower or in your bathrooms or whatever? But boy, is there a difference between buying the 5-gallon size. Is it 5 gallon? Maybe it's a gallon. No, it's more than a gallon. 4 gallons. It's like the 4-gallon size versus buying the little squishy bottle. So like everything else, buy the squishy bottle once or whenever it breaks, buy a new one. But get the refill. Amazing the difference in price. Just absolutely shattering to me. The same thing as Jody was saying to me, she was going to buy tomato seeds, already have. And I said, me, I don't. I buy grape tomatoes, and every now and then I cut one in half and do this to it. But it's just like when you think about it, it works. So to me, it's like I've also learned a big lesson this year about planting my seeds. I've learned that really it's not worth starting to plant them until March. I've planted them trying to keep them going all over the winter. No, it's not worth it. Not worth it. March, April, early April, you can plant them and the things shoot out of the ground, out of the thing. I mean, it's amazing the difference. And if you look at it, I wanted to show you this for those of you who've been watching my microgreens. These are my broccoli microgreens. And I've already cut here once, and now I've got a clump here that I'm about to cut today, and a clump here, You see, what I do is I clump them together so that I know, okay, that's going into today's Peter and that's going into tomorrow's. Um, but you can see that there's still others growing again and this is sort of coming up. So that's pretty awesome. And that makes me smile. And then I did a little bit of research because that's makes me happy. And that was, what about chia? What is the value of chia microgreens? And I can't remember what the result was, but I decided to start growing them. So it may or may not work. The chia is at your end, and this is just some more of my regular ones. And these ones are already starting to sprout. The chia ones, not yet. So we'll see. High in calcium. Thank you, Jody. The microgreens are high in calcium. What about anything else? Did you notice? So you see, it's like keeping the mind healthy is as important as keeping the body healthy. That's the point I want to get to. Okay, so the chia microgreens are high in calcium, which is really important for me because the drug I'm taking actually one of the problems with it is it will give me osteoporosis if I'm not careful. So how many of you watched Elon Musk's new SpaceX thing, the heavy one, the one that they're testing, getting ready to go places nowhere else has been? I was watching that, and when it went to take off, unfortunately, a few of the engines didn't ignite the way they were meant to, but it still took off. And then, because it didn't have the right propulsion, it started to change its trajectory, and then they blew it up rather than have it, cause problems. They blew it up while it was still high up. It was pretty high up. I can't remember how many miles up it went. But the interesting thing was that Elon Musk was saying, it was he's really happy with what happened. You see, because he knows that in doing that test, they found out what they did wrong. Right? They've got all the documentation. They've got all the proof they needed as to what went wrong. Why did some of the engines not ignite? Well, they can see which ones didn't, and they probably will work out, by what you call it, reverse engineering, what was different on those engines. And then, what a great attitude to have. How many multi-millions of dollars went into building that thing for a firework display, basically? And I, for one, was very glad there wasn't anybody obviously on it. And I did give thanks for that. But, it was just like, yeah, you have to have some failures to get success. And if you think everything is going to go right the first time, then really you're living in a fantasy world that is not in our, sort of universe. Raquel Franco said, mascara creaks on rosy cheeks. All her eyes could give, no more starry-eyed girl with hearts inside. The stars had died and lost their wish. Don't lose your wish. Lily Tomlin said, oh, great. Thank you, Jody. I didn't expect that. Jody's saying it actually went up 24 miles before it started to plummet. Or 39 kilometers. Well done, Jody. Both official languages. So here's what Lily Tomlin said. For fast-acting relief, try slowing down. I have to say, and I'm pretty certain Jody would say the same thing, the biggest lesson you have to learn when you have illness is to slow down. right? And it feels like you are not achieving very much. But I don't know about anybody else, but what I realized was how much of my life did I live doing twice as much as I should have been doing for my body. That I put my body under that much stress every day. And then, worked even longer hours to prove how smart I was or whatever. Yeah, right. Slowing down is not being lazy. Slowing down is finding out what your body's natural rhythm is. I don't know who said this, but I can relate to it. It says, I'm actually not that tired today. 6 words I've never said and never will. I love these quotes. Right. Yeah, Jodie's saying very true. Slowing down is key. It helps organize priorities because there's only so much that can be done in a day. Jodie, I don't know about you, but I've got my electronic day timer. I've got my manual day timer. And then I've got my 4x4 post-it note. And what I do is I see the big list and I go, oh yeah, that's not. Then I get it down into the smaller list, and then I only what fits, and normal writing, what fits in a 4x4 post-it note. And that's what I've done now. It's just like, forget the 52 other things. Once you've done these 4, then you can go back for the next 4. But you start, these are the 4 most important ones. Oh, Jodie's saying she's got a 79-cent notebook. Yeah. But it's just like, well, how did we ever do that much or think that we could do that much? Talk about unrealistic expectations of ourselves, right? Who said this? Hang on a second. I'm going to try and blow this up. Karen Salamansion said, anxiety happens when you think you have to figure out everything all at once. Breathe. You're strong. You've got this. Take it day by day. So that I do everything I can to take one more step. That's what I work on. Can I take one more step? And there are a couple of things I haven't taken one more step on recently, and I know that's because I'm doing stuff outside that needs to be done, and that's got to be okay. Yes, that's so true. Jodie's saying the reason we have so much on our to-do list is because we make those long lists while we're sitting down having coffee. That's the other thing, Jodie. Thank you for reminding me. One of the things that I am changing is how much time I sit down and have coffee. Because I noticed I could literally spend the first 2 hours of my day sitting down having coffee. Now, it's okay if I'm sitting down having coffee, paying bills, making telephone calls, or planning my week, right? Because that's important. But if it's just sitting down there and I'm notice that I'm busy with social media and stuff like that, I know that is a waste of my time. All right, Jeannie's saying, I consult my calendar every night to see what tomorrow will bring. If I lost that calendar, oh dear. I want to tell you, I've got a program, an electronic program, that if I lost it, it probably would be very difficult for me. But what I do is about every season, I download the whole thing. Actually, I upload it to the cloud in case I ever nuke the whole thing, that I've got a backup that at least has most of it in. So that is one thing I remember learning from a very successful person. So if you know that losing your calendar would make that impact in your life, it's a good idea to photocopy it. Right? Maybe actually, it's a really good idea. So you just have one calendar that you hang up that has everything on it? Jodie and I could not cope with that. Now, do you want to hear why Jody and I couldn't cope with it, Jeannie? um, because probably on your calendar you'd write something like clean up the backyard. You see, and you know that every time you see it, that you just do one more thing, right? Well, Jody and I would sit there for probably an hour and come up with 32 things that need to be cleaned up on the backyard. And then we'd have all those on our list, all of them. But then we would see number 2 requires that we purchase this, 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 and this. So we'd have another list of what we got to buy. And then we'd see number 15 would need something else. And therefore we would have to plan that out as well. So we would, for that one thing that you probably have on your calendar, Jody and I would probably have 3 lists. Jody, would you agree? Yeah, the categories have subcategories. And some of my subcategories have subcategories. I've learned that you can do that in that program, Jody. It's very useful. I didn't realize that to start with, that you could have a category, a subcategory, and then you could have a subcategory of the subcategory. It continues. I didn't realize that to begin with. It took me a long time to work that out. And how to work out how to move it from one project to another was really fascinating. But what I'm trying to work on is to get to where Jeannie's at. Imagine how clear her mind must be. Oh, I need to spend an hour in the garden. What shall I start with? And we're going, which of these things am I going to do? So, Jeannie, how do you do that? No, it's not that you put too little. It is that it's a much less stressful way. And, I'm actually working, and I want to tell you something, Jeannie. I'm actually working at getting my 400, I've probably got 400 pages of stuff in that system. But I'm working at trying to get it down to just 5 categories a day. My house, my yard, my garden, or anything outside that includes going shopping or doing stuff, my finances, my health, and there's another category, I can't remember what it is right now, but it doesn't matter. But I just want to be able to just see when those categories come up on my to-do list. And then I can press each and go, what's the next step for this one? But I have to say that multitasking does keep me amused. And for example, yesterday, I knew I'd had a fairly busy day, and I was quite surprised that by the time I got to 6:00, I already had 5,000 steps done. And I went, oh, that's pretty good. That's a pretty active day for me. And so I went, yeah, but if you sat down and binge watched something and used Billy the bike, my little under the desk bike, and did your weights at the same time, imagine what you could do in an hour. Ah, okay. So Jeannie is saying she does this very easily. I say something like get groceries on her calendar, and then I take my list and go. I say this day I have a certain appointment, and I do it. Yeah. Now we also have those, but you don't have dust behind the 3rd bookshelf on the right-hand side of the bedroom, or you don't have do the whitewash today, and then also have put the whitewash away, probably. Or we just overload ourselves. I know that. Jody knows that. We're working on it though, Jody, right? Ah, there we go. Jeannie's saying the reason she doesn't have those subcategories that we have, luckily once a month I have a cleaning lady come in. Clever, Jody. How much could we knock off our to-do list if we had a cleaning lady coming in? Hmm. But now I've got to tell you something. Jody, I'm not going to talk for you. I'm just going to talk for myself. If I had a cleaning lady coming in once a month, I would clean before the cleaning lady got there so she wouldn't think I was dirty. But that isn't a bad idea. And I'm thinking if I had a cleaning lady. Jeannie's saying, I have problems with my fingers, so she helps. Yeah, so does Jody, right? I'd clean for the cleaning lady. Yeah, I had a feeling you would. Jody and I are very alike on those things. I mean, God forbid she should see my house like this. Yeah. All right, Jody, so here's our quote for this week, all right? It says, you can do anything, but not everything. So let's work, all right? Let's work at decluttering our to-do list into just categories, all right? And then subcategory things. If you only have an hour today to do this, what would you do? And so, I look at it and go, there are times when we can really spend a lot of time being amused. I wonder how much time we would have to do things if we didn't spend as much time writing the to-do list. Right? I've always wondered about that. Right? So to me, it's really fascinating how many hours I spend writing the list, but not doing the stuff on it. Well, I'm sure that Jeannie just does it. Yeah. It's said here that tired minds don't plan well. Sleep first and plan later. That's nice. Oh, isn't that kind of you? Jeannie's saying that her cleaning lady, she gave them a couple of her, her husband passed a few months ago, gave some of the shirts for her two grown sons. I'm certain that she was very grateful for that. Very grateful indeed. So, I think if we can get a sense of humor about all of this, we're lucky. It's said that there are two kinds of tired. Did you know that? One that requires rest and one that requires peace. Protect your energy. I think I'm more aware of that than I've ever been in my life. And somebody said, I feel drained by the day. I feel drained by the race. I feel exhausted. Drained by the games people play, by the thought that I'm wrong. Everything feels distorted. So, you look at it and you go, what is it that eats our energy, right? And what is it that amuses us? And the more we can amuse ourselves and keep ourselves with so little to do in a day rather than so much, and then get the achievement of doing it. I actually, as I said, when I get down to the 4x4 post-it note, I go, oh, is that all I have to do today? Now, I nearly always end up doing a lot more, but those are the things that, in other words, that's where the focus is. But boy, can I get distracted, right? Boy, can I get distracted. And I've now got a new system where I can sit and do emails and stuff like that for my first cup of coffee. My second cup, I need to be doing something different. See, it's just making little changes that make the difference, right? And I wonder sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but I think about somebody like Judy raising 5 girls. How does she do it? How does she do that and be a YouTuber and deal with Benji and, um, so difficult, but she does it and loves it. John Quixote said, I'm smiled out, I'm talked out, I'm quipped out, I'm socialized so far from any being. I need the weight of mortal silences to get realized back into myself. Yeah, sometimes we need that day off. Really need that day off. And my new smart television has got a time out system, and I actually sleep better when I've got my television on. And it's really strange. And I think part of my problem is it's got a time out on it, so every now and then it stops talking, and I think subconsciously maybe that's waking me up. Yeah, Jeannie's saying Benji and Judy work well together, and they've made the girls very independent early on. Even little Leah is helping cook, make green juice, and help. Yeah, and with the laundry and everything, they really, I love that. When I was in a marriage and had children in that marriage, my husband had children. The kids were incredibly helpful, and they loved being helpful. I taught them how to make, I was in Africa and we drank tea rather than coffee. But if anybody came to visit, they'd be so excited because they could make tea, and they knew, and they could put biscuits on a plate with a doily and everything, and it would look so pretty. And they knew if they brought the biscuits out for other people, they were allowed to have some themselves quietly. And it was just like, and you'd watch them all come in with the tray. And first of all, they come and say, what sort of tea would you like? Because we had options. And they go, oh, no, that's all right. No, 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 please, please, can we make tea for you? And I'd go, please let them make tea. Because I knew the biscuits were, well, cookies, if you call them. Cookies were an important part of this process. But, and people said to me, you let children boil a kettle? And I go, yep, I taught them. I taught them how to deal with a hot kettle. And it's really important. The thing is this, you start with a cold kettle and you teach them how to pour a cold kettle that is only a quarter full. And that causes a lot of mess until they got it. Once they got that, you go, okay, well done. Now we're going to half fill it and see how you do. And once they got that one pretty good, you then go, that's very good. Now, what about a full one? Now, the first thing you've got to do is some of them are not tall enough to be able to get to the kettle. So you need to teach them how to get up onto the counter. Very easy. One of the easiest things is to teach a child who is not tall enough to be able to get up onto here. Let me tell you how you do it. You throw some candy on there in the middle and go, if you can get to it, it's yours. You'd be amazed how quickly they find something to stand on. I didn't have to teach them. They're going, really? I go, yep. You can get to it, it's yours. And then if you can imagine, I put something in that cupboard there and put some candy in there and go, if you can get to it, it's yours. Be careful. And I watch it to make sure they didn't fall or anything. But it's amazing how smart children are. You just got to give them the reason to do it. But once I got them doing everything with a cold kettle, then we'd start with a lukewarm kettle. Now this is warmer water. Feel how warm the water is. Okay. And we do the whole thing again. Can they still fill the teapot from, and by the way, that took hardly any time at all because they knew that it was just warmer, that was all. And then you'd go, now this is really hot. So I'd start with hot water. And I'd go, this is hot. This can hurt you. But it's not boiling yet. It's just hot. So you want to feel what hot feels like. Be very careful because it's hot. And they'd feel that and go, oh, I go, yeah. And I teach them how to pour with a hot kettle. And then last but not least, I teach them how to boil the kettle. But by then, they knew they had learned how to keep the kettle away from themselves and still be able to pour it. You see, it's all a process of intelligence, and they were intelligent kids. And then they knew to delegate, right? Because they always did this as a team, right? So the older one would deal with a hot kettle, and the others would know where to get the cups and saucers, and the other one would know where to get the cookies. And then the other one would know where to get the plate and put the doily on it, ready for the cookies. They had this thing all set up. And then if you could see their faces when the guest would say, are you serious? The children made tea? I said, yeah, and they cooked the cookies too. Not today, but they did cook the cookies. Because, every week I'd say, oh, we better bake some cookies in case we have guests. But of course, we always had to do the quality control because I've always been a big kid, so it was very enjoyable to me. How about this for a quote? Don't confuse my bad days as signs of weakness. They are actually the days I am fighting my hardest. So those days that we have to take off and cry a bit, those days where we need to curl up in a ball and rest are our most difficult days. I would definitely agree with it. Because the mind keeps telling you you're being lazy, you're being, whatever. And I keep going, no, I'm not, I'm resting. I need to rest. My body just isn't strong enough today. Boy, that's a difficult lesson to learn. But do I need to lose my sense of humor? No. And if I still have it, I know that I'm in balance, right? One of the things I learned about being somebody who lived a lot of her life in depression was I didn't listen to myself enough in those days. And when I was feeling bad, I'd stuff it down and I wouldn't vent and I wouldn't get angry. And, because nice girls don't get angry. And, all those sort of things. Whereas now I know if something happens to me that messes with my mind, I vent very quickly. But I vent to safe people who understand and don't try and fix it. They know I'm just venting. And you see, when I look at it, I go, there are going to be days, as they are with so many of you, where you're going to be tired of being sick and tired. And some days I wake up going, I've had enough of this tired business today. I think I'm going to do some things differently. And I realize I need to change. If I keep on doing what I've always done, I'm going to keep getting what I've always had, right? So last night when I was waking up every hour, I started to laugh and I went, that will teach you to complain about waking up every 2 hours earlier in the week. Because you've now found out that waking up every 2 hours was not nearly as bad as waking up every hour. And I also said, I have to believe that my body is getting enough rest. And we know I put in enough steps. I did 10,000 steps yesterday. It's like, what do I need to do so that I sleep, people? And then my cancer group people tell me, no, it's the drug you're taking. And I'm going, I need to find an answer. And how about this one? It's a Chinese proverb that says a man or woman grows most tired while standing still. I have found out that not sitting down and answering the emails is a good idea. So what I do, I said to you that, I try and limit my time with the computer screen and my coffee to 1 hour, not two, because that's what I was doing. But the second one, I can have my coffee in the kitchen while I'm doing things in the kitchen. Okay. And I'm amazed how many steps I take doing that. And that may be planning what I'm going to eat today or doing whatever. All right. How do you do that, Janie? Do you do that a different way? How do you plan what you're going to eat that day, that month, that week? Jody, have you got yours planned? I started that. I actually, I'm doing fairly well. I did have steak yesterday. I actually kept to the plan. That's quite surprising. Okay, I can cross that out. Now, I've got a bit of a problem because, Fridays I do the broadcast and there's a dirty great gap as to what I'm going to be eating tonight. Yeah, so Jody's saying, right, she's got hers planned out with alternates in case, Um, how many of you plan what you're going to wear in this week? I'm thinking that would be really clever, as I'm learning now to take the stuff out of the laundry and hang them up in outfits. Now what I'm thinking of doing, yes, I've got one here. Thought I had. I'm thinking of cutting a toilet roll like this. And hanging the day of the week on it. All right? So I don't have to think for a week. And then as I do the next wash, these things move on. How clever would that be? Didn't even have to think. Now, I don't have to wear that. And there's still going to be a lot of options in my closet other than that. But it's like if you don't want to think. All right, so Jeannie's saying to us, the way she plans what she's going to eat, she sees what's on sale at the grocery store. Yep, I do that as well. Buy some sale items, cook chicken or hamburger or sausage. Always add mushrooms, onions, sweet peppers, broccoli, and then decide how to cook the entree. Yeah, you see, and that's why I think I do that as well, right? I cook the roast, slice it, and then I freeze the slice and cube it, and then I decide, do I want to have roast beef sliced, or do I want to have cubed beef with vegetables? So I like to do that as well. So when I write down, if you look there, when I write down what I'm going to have, I merely say the meat portion. All right, so this is like, oh, actually, no. On Saturday, I'm having pasta. Why? Because I've got bacon, and I like to have bacon on top of my pasta. And then Sunday is undecipherable. Hang on a second. I have no idea what that is. Monday is ramen. Tuesday, turkey. Ham on Wednesday. I think that's mushroom. I've got some stuff in mushroom soup. That must be what it is. So, it's like, and if I don't start eating that stuff in my big freezer is, again, full to the very, very top. Really terrible. So Jeannie's saying today I defrosted some chicken breasts, add cooked linguine, chopped some onions and mushrooms, added cream of chicken soup, plus some tarragon, salt and pepper. Chicken breast casserole. Yep. So, this is the whole thing. Find easier ways to do it, right? And it's creative that way. So I do the same, but I do it in reverse. So that is awesome. But it's getting out of the habit of buying stuff. All right. And she's saying she froze some. That's my problem. I realized that every time I cooked for you guys, I was putting another 4 meals into my freezer. You can imagine how much is in my big freezer. So now I need to stop doing that. All right. Until I've started getting some stuff. I'm literally going to go through my freezer and I'm going to start throwing things out because they've been in there for too long. It's said here that at some point excuses have to end. Aren't you tired of feeling drained and disrespected by the person you're supposed to have your back? Yeah. How many of you know the expression pretend friends? Yeah, I didn't realize it until it happened, but the friends you have while you're working, you don't necessarily have them when you retire. When you're not able to go and do the things that they keep doing or have the finances to be able to do it or whatever, you lose a lot of interest. Well, just pretend friends is what I call them. And then, as I'm certain that some of you have found out, when you have a loss, as Jeannie did, the friends have changed then as well. They don't know how to deal with only one of you. They used to know both of you, and they can't get their minds around only one of you. Or, as Jody will know, when you get sick, because they don't know how to talk to somebody who's sick. And that to me is really fascinating. So I have found without a doubt that being sick, you really find out who your friends are. Real friends, right? And they're the ones that make the time. No excuses. They make the time. They actually do care to find out every day how you're doing. All right. There's a really cute thing here. It says, this lady runs on cuddles and caffeine. How many of you know that just having somebody give you a hug will make your day? All right. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow, and let's hope that Jax makes it here, because I will look forward to having a hug, and I will look forward to shooting the breeze and catching up. And, I look forward to the help she's offered to give me, but there's so much more to it than that. But how many of you know somewhere between now and the time I get up tomorrow morning, I got a lot of cleaning up to do. And I will find the energy to do it because I want to. And that to me is part of the amusement of it all. Interesting. Jeannie's saying, I have a problem with hugs. Yeah, some people do, right? And I assure you, I've learned to ask people, that I don't know, is it okay if I give you a hug? Because some people are, some people are just not huggy people. All right. Um, but it is funny how many people are like that. And that's okay. That's okay. To me, there is nothing like a hug. I think you do hug them in your own way, Jeannie. I think you take sandwiches and things. Yeah, Jody's a hugger. Gee, I'm so surprised to hear that. Not. So look at yourself and go, remember what Louise Hay said. All right? And let me go back to that quote. It was just one affirmation, and I stopped with the one because I realized in that second that what that affirmation meant. Okay? I love and I accept myself exactly as I am. And it was in reading that slowly and thinking about it intensely that made me realize I am not tired. My body is tired. I still have a mind that works incredibly well. And it made me think of Erin, all right, who doesn't have a body that works well. And I realized I am so fortunate to be able to differentiate between the two. And sometimes I'm going to use my mind more than my body, and that's okay. I have learned now that sitting and having my first cup of coffee while I am productively doing something isn't a bad idea. Oh, interesting, Jeannie. I'm dying. May I ask you more questions about that? Jeannie's saying, sometimes I do not trust the other person who hugs. And sometimes I'm not sure that that person is an honest hugger. What is a dishonest hugger? I need to know that. That is fascinating to me. You are sure. Yeah, sometimes, okay, so what I need to know is when are you not sure? When are the times that you do not trust the other person who hugs? Well, what are the signals for you? That's an interesting thing. I used it to my advantage one time, Jeannie, just so you know. When I was a part of a club at one time, um, I'm a doer. And there was one guy in the club that never ever hugged me. Yeah, he wasn't a hugger, and that's the end of the story. I said, not a problem at all. And then one day he came to me and he said, I got a real problem. And I go, oh, how can I help? And he said, yeah, I knew you'd say that. And I said, yeah, that's who I am. How can I help? He said, well, what I really need is da 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 da. And I said, okay, not a problem. And he said, that's it? Not a problem? I said, yeah, as soon as you hug me, not a problem. And he said, I knew that was going to be your thing. And I said, your choice. Yeah. I'm very cheap to run. Just give me a hug and I'll be there. And he did. And I must admit that broke the dam for him, because after that he hugged me all the time. And it was just like he knew there was going to be a price to pay to get my help. But he said to me afterwards, you know, it was so easy once I worked out that. And he said, you do give the best hugs. And I said, yeah, I know. And there's nothing, right? And Jeannie's saying, and it's important because Jeannie's saying she knows not to hug that person when that person has hurt me. Oh yeah. I don't hug people that hurt me, but I always give them the benefit of doubt until they hurt me. What about you? I must admit, there are a couple of people in my life I've never hugged. Why? Everything in my body told me not to. So let us go back just to wrap this up about feeling sick and tired. Can you see that when I went back to what am I when I'm not sick, and know that I am still that person? I am still that person. Think about it. Think about it deeply. I'm still kind, even though I'm sick. I'm still creative, even though I'm sick. I'm still smart. I'm still love to learn. I'm still courageous. I'm still an achiever. Um, I still have a different mindset to a lot of people, right? I'm not a quitter. I'm really aware of things. And yeah, I still have fear and all the other things that go with it. But I am these things with or without illness. And when I let the illness override those talents, then I am not looking after myself. And I am not doing, I believe, what Louise Hay said, which is, I love and accept myself exactly as I am. All right? Yeah, and Jeannie's saying, thank you for sharing this, Jeannie. It's an important definition, and that's why I wanted to make sure that I got your reasons, not mine. Jeannie's saying, one relative has not even acknowledged me for a while. If she wants to hug me, I would not enjoy it. Therefore, she wouldn't allow it. I presume. Am I correct in that? I should not presume that, but I think that's what you're saying. She would have to earn that trust back, is what I'm hearing. I'm laughing because if I think about my relatives that don't acknowledge me, yeah, whole nother story. So, Jeannie, thank you for sharing this definition and about huggers, because I'm certain a lot of people relate to that as well. And thank you for reminding Jody and I that the reason that we have problems with our daytimers is we put way too much in them. I'm starting to learn to put it seasonally, right? That's something I need to do next season. It doesn't need to be in today's daytime. I'm thinking about having totally different daytimers, yearly, monthly. Oh no, yearly, seasonally, monthly, daily. I'd still be overwhelmed. Oh, interesting. That's interesting. Jeannie says she would allow that relative to hug her to keep more trouble away. All right, so your peace of mind is more important than the hug. Got it. All right, everybody. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, do something about it. As usual, it's not going to go away if you stay moping for the next week. Not going to go away. However, if you distract your brain, and we've talked about that time and time again, by doing, learning something new, or creating something, or planting seeds, or doing whatever, if you can distract your brain away from it being sick and tired, you'll be amazed how that can change. Thank you very much. Jeannie is saying, thank you for a good broadcast. To me, this is like every day we learn lessons if we choose to. As I've said, for 10 years, I've never really struggled for a subject to talk about. I just have to look at my day and go, if I'm struggling with this, maybe other people are too. So don't let's be sick and tired. Let's be amused, courageous, creative, fun. And let's keep being that regardless of what's coming at us. This is DearMamaSal saying thank you so much for being here. Jody, thank you for your help. Jeannie, thanks for backing up. And remember, we are what we think about. Always remember that. Don't spend your day thinking about how sad your life is. Spend your day thinking how lucky we are that we woke up, and that we have each other, and that we have people like us to hold each other's hand as we go through life. That to me is the magic. This is DearMamaSal saying, we'll see you this evening. I have no idea what we're going to be doing yet. Bye for now.